If you are new to Blackwork Embroidery and would like to know what materials you need to get started, well, you've come to the right place. Hello, my name is Lynn Fairchild and welcome to my channel. In no particular order, one of the first things you will need to do your embroidery would be a frame. If you want to go with the inexpensive route, you could get a hoop frame. This is just a simple circular frame that you can get at your local Walmart, your local craft store. The main thing to be concerned about is a hoop frame can warp your fabric. So when you put your linen into the fabric, you can do your embroidery, but then you want to take the linen fabric out of the hoop. Otherwise, this will warp the fabric, and so as you move along on the fabric, you'll start to see little circle patterns created, and it might mess up the overall aesthetic of your embroidery. If you want to go with the more expensive route, but also a more historically accurate route, and also this depends on the size of your embroidery. If you are doing, say, something that is, we'll say 5 inches wide, but then 3 feet long, doing the hoop frame might actually be better. But the more historically accurate route would be doing a slate frame. As you can see, there are 2 bars, one on top and one on the bottom. And then these 2 on the sides slide up and down and have little pegs to help hold it in place, and then everything is stitched in. It takes a while to dress your slate frame. I have videos on my channel to show how to dress a slate frame. If you're interested in that, I will have a link below in the description. But once you have the slate frame dressed, then the embroidery, you have the correct tension, and I like doing it better on the slate frame with the embroidery just because I don't have to worry about my fabric being warped like it would be on the hoop frame. The next thing you would need is a needle, and the type of needle I use is just the type of needle that you would use for doing cross stitch embroidery. The main things to be concerned about with the needle is if the point is too sharp, it might actually snag the linen fabric, but just the same if the needle is too blunt, then it might be difficult to actually poke the needle through the fabric to do the embroidery. The other thing to be concerned about is the width of the eye. The eye, which is where the thread goes through, you want it to be the same diameter as the rest of the needle, because if the needle is, so if you have the needle and then the eye goes like this and that's nice and big, it will actually create bigger holes as you are embroidering your fabric, and then that can kind of warp the fabric a bit and make your embroidery look uneven. So just 2 things to be concerned about. So you've got your frame, you've got your needle, and also I like to use linen. Linen is historically accurate. If you are looking to do any kind of 16th century embroidery and you are looking to embroider your cuffs, your collar, your shirt, it was all embroidered linen. But if you are just starting off learning how to do embroidery, you could use this. This is cross stitch cloth, also Aida cloth or Aida cloth, and this is a lot easier to learn how to do embroidery. If you are just starting off with blackwork, it helps being able to just simply see a hole and do a stitch, rather than with the linen, depending on the linen and how big or how small you want your stitches to be, then you're counting every 3rd hole or every 4th hole, every 5th hole in the linen. This is easier to start off with learning. The next thing, you always need scissors. You need scissors to cut your thread with, but now you need the thread. If you are just starting off and you want to go with the inexpensive route, there is Gutermann silk thread, which I bought this at Joann Fabrics, but you could still find this at other craft stores as well. If you are going for maybe a more historically accurate route, if you are looking to do 16th century embroidery, I recommend this. This is a soie perlée, and this is a twisted silk thread, and it is, I believe, a 3-ply twisted silk thread. You can also do untwisted silk thread. The main difference between the twisted and the untwisted is that the twisted does not have as much of a shine as the untwisted, but it also does not fray as much. So speaking of fraying, the next thing that you might need is beeswax. I like to put beeswax just on the ends of my thread, and then that helps the thread not to fray. But especially if you are using untwisted silk thread, you definitely want to put beeswax just on the ends of your thread, because if you put beeswax throughout your thread, then you will find it becomes kind of stiff and gunky, and depending on how long your strand of thread is, as it gets stiff and gunky and you're trying to work it through the embroidery and then going on your return journey, it just makes it difficult to work with. You'll find some of it might be sticking to other parts of it as you work your way back. And I found just putting beeswax on the ends of your thread is just enough to help it not fray, but also your silk thread is very easy to work with. So you have your fabric, you have your needle, you have your thread, you have your scissors, you have your frame, but now you need a pattern. Where do you find a pattern? You can either look at portraits, you can look at embroidery samplers that exist in museums. I have many pictures of different patterns on my Pinterest page, on my Blackwork Embroidery blog. I also have a couple of books available on Amazon. I will have links below in the description. And that's where you then decide what are you embroidering and how big do you want that pattern to be. For example, if you are doing, say, cuffs, you might want a smaller pattern, whereas if you are doing a full sleeve, it could be a bigger pattern. The main thing that I forgot to mention with your linen fabric is if you need even weave or uneven weave, you can embroider either one. The main thing to make a note of if you are embroidering an uneven weave is that the uneven weave will just simply change what the pattern looks like. So for example, if you are embroidering the pattern is supposed to be a circle, your end product may look more like an oval, but you can still embroider the uneven weave linen. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please select thumbs up that you like the video. It helps with the algorithm. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. And please click subscribe and ring the bell to be updated when new videos come out.